the Honorable Vice President, Dr. Julia Jaro, our Chairman and Speaker, Dr. Abasundu, members of the Diplomatic Corps, all distinguished guests present here. Good morning. On behalf of the Commission, I'm really happy to see all of you. 10th December today is really a very busy day, but since you came this morning, you're still here, I mean, indicating your interest in human rights. And I'm sure that by the time you go home, you're going to take a lot of messages here which you're going to share with your family members, also people in your different communities, on how we can all collectively come together to stand up for human rights. Every 10th December, the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone and its partners join the international community to celebrate this day. This is a day set aside to commemorate the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948 by the United Nations General Assembly. The UDHR, being the foundation of all international human rights instruments, is a document given to the world as an assurance of peace, dignity, and security of all. Today, the Commission joins the rest of the world to commemorate the global theme, Recover Better and Stand Up for Human Rights. This year's theme relates to the COVID-19 pandemic and focuses on the need to recover better. It therefore behoves us as citizens and our state leadership to jointly work together in order to build back the nation from the negative effects of the pandemic by putting human rights at the core of all recovery efforts. As an independent national human rights institution mandated to promote and protect human rights in the country, the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone commemorates this event by calling on everyone to continue to observe and respect all precautionary measures put in place by the government in a bid to curb the spread of the virus. It is worthy to note that any further outbreak of the virus in the country will subsequently lead to a setback in the current recovery efforts. The Commission commends the government through NACOVAC for the proactive steps taken to keep the COVID-19 virus from getting a greater toll on the lives of all in Sierra Leone, even before the first index case. The proactive steps taken by the government fall in line with the provisions highlighted in Article 4.1 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which stipulates that in time of public emergency, which threatens the life of the nation and the existence of which is officially proclaimed, the state may take measures derogating from their obligations under the present covenant to the extent strictly required by the exigencies of the situation. The HRCSL strongly notes government's timely intervention. Apart from the global theme, the Commission will focus this year 2020 International Human Rights Day to the duties of citizens. It is worthy to note how the potential bad behavior of one citizen can affect the enjoyment of rights of community and subsequently the country as a whole. The Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone draws your attention to the enjoyment of citizens' human rights, but strongly reminds all citizens of our duties as a citizen. The whole of Section 13, A to F of the Constitution of Sierra Leone 1991 details our duties as citizens. To be specific, Section 13F defines a good citizen as one who makes positive and useful contributions to the advancement, progress, and well-being of the community where he resides. Also, let us reflect on the provisions highlighted in Chapter 2 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the duties of a citizen, with specific focus on Article 29.7, which stipulates, for ease of reference, to preserve and strengthen positive African cultural values in his relations with other in the spirit of tolerance, dialogue, and consultation, and in general, to contribute to the promotion of the moral well-being of the society. Let us now ask ourselves the question as we sit there. With such definition of who the citizen is, we should now be asking ourselves the question, am I a good citizen? Today, we see signs of the spirit of tolerance eroding from our citizens. We also see citizens refusing to dialogue, even when asked to do so. We see citizens not using appropriate redress mechanisms to challenge grievances. We see citizens not asking questions and taking the law in their hands, thus leading to violence and destruction of structures in communities meant for people to enjoy their human rights. Do such actions make us good citizens? Do such actions reflect what is detailed in the constitutional provisions and the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the duties of a citizen and who a good citizen is? Let's use this opportunity to remind us citizens that our human rights exist for us to enjoy them, and we must enjoy them responsibly. Having the right, for example, to freedom of speech does not give one the right to go around saying all sorts of negative and unverified information about the other that has the potential to damage the person's integrity and even bring the country into chaos. It is worthy to note that our human rights are protected by law. They are restricted or limited by law, and our rights can be claimed by using the law. Let us endeavor to use the law while we claim our rights. Whilst the state has its obligations to respect, protect, and fulfill human rights, citizens also have a duty to uphold human rights principles in order for all of us to live in peace and dignity. In light of the above, the Commission calls on all to be good citizens and to desist from making statements or putting up actions that have the potential to erode the peace of this country is enjoying, and subsequently the disappearance of human rights in our different communities. Where there is instability, there is no space for the enjoyment of rights. The Commission therefore calls on everyone to stand up for human rights by abiding by the constitutional provisions of the duties of the citizen and acting in line with same. Our distinguished guests, one of the principal drafters of the UDHL, Eleanor Roosevelt, put the origin on human rights in the following way. Where, after all, do universal human rights begin? In small places, they're talking about our homes now. Close to home, so close and so small that they cannot be seen on the map of the world. Unless these rights have meanings there, they have little meaning anywhere. Without the concerted efforts of citizens' action to uphold these human rights, we look in vain for progress in the larger world. These words make it obligatory for all of us to make human rights our collective responsibility, and not just those intervening in the field of human rights or even that of the state. Whilst the Commission recognizes the intervention of the government on youth activities, let me also use this opportunity to call on the government of Sierra Leone to address the issue of youth violence in the country, which has an effect on the enjoyment of many human rights. The Commission calls on the government to create more opportunities for young people, technical and formal, in a bid to get them occupied in preparation for more productive lives. The Commission notes the tremendous role played by the government in its fight against sexual and gender-based violence, and especially of our young girls, and continues to do so relentlessly. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, paragraph 6 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights preamble clearly states, member states have pledged themselves to achieve, in cooperation with the United Nations, the promotion of universal respect and observance of human rights and fundamental freedoms. Although as a country we still have challenges, the Commission recognizes the government's efforts in meeting its minimum call for the promotion and protection of human rights. We note the progressive realization of access to education for all through the free quality education program, improvement in the health sector, but also note with concern the absence of pinpoints for some teachers and medical staff in selected schools and health centers monitored by the Commission late this year. We note efforts for the provision of water in some communities. They also note the review of laws meant to protect the rights of women and girls from all forms of sexual and gender-based violence. We note the establishment of the required structures to address health concerns of victims of SGBV and access to justice through the reports. The Commission continues to popularize the Sexual Offences Act as amended in its general awareness raising drive and efforts to curb the practice. I cannot talk about sexual and gender-based violence without recognizing the big role played by the First Lady, Mrs. Fatima Biyu, for her tremendous contributions to the protection of our girls from sexual and gender-based violence. The First Lady's louder whistleblow through her Answer for Girls campaign remains recognized and continues to pay off. The Commission also notes the recent launch of the Gender Equality and Women Empowerment Policy, which aims also at improving on the lives of women in various areas. The Commission remains very optimistic for its timely and effective implementation for the benefits of the many women out there who await our intervention. Let me use this opportunity to congratulate Sierra Leone and specifically the Ministry of Gender and Children's Affairs. Sierra Leone has been selected amongst the 9 countries to serve on the board of the UN Women, Peace and Security Humanitarian Action Compact. The Commission also notes the role of the judiciary in decongesting our correctional centers through its in-prison and court mobile sessions. We, however, draw the attention of the judiciary to the issue of inmates convicted for petty offenses. Our findings from visits to correctional service all over the country to a very large extent notes that they will contribute to overcrowding in prisons. The Commission commends government for holding the moratorium on the death penalty, but strongly calls for its abolition from the law books of Sierra Leone. The Commission also calls for the official kickstart of the constitutional review process and the decriminalization of petty offenses, which has a heavy toll on convicted persons of poor families. I cannot leave this podium without acknowledging the continued support of our traditional funding partner, the Irish Aid and the UNDP, for their financial and logistical support to the Commission over the years. Your support has taken the Commission to locations to address human rights, in very far locations to address human rights concerns in these communities. The Commission calls on the government to increase its financial support to the Commission in line with the provisions highlighted in the Paris Principles, which states that national human rights institutions are supposed to be adequately supported by government in the execution of their duties. And I know that with the presence of the Vice President here today, the case of the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone is going to be different. Let me especially note the roles played today by the Speaker of Parliament and the Chairman of the Parliamentary Committee on Human Rights. Your roles fall in line with the provisions highlighted in the Belgrade Principles, which notes in its entirety the relationship that should exist between national human rights institutions and Parliament. Asking you both to serve in these capacities is deliberate, and as a Commission, we remain very optimistic that our relationship will be further strengthened with the aim of addressing many human rights concerns of the many out there who await our intervention. Thank you for listening, and wish you all a Merry Christmas and a happy